warm welcome to our podcast, Water and You. This is a podcast about the ocean, the power of the ocean, your life and your freedom. My name is Connie Zywiec and I'm an absolute ocean lover living at and in the ocean, freediving trainer and coach. And my deep desire is to bring the ocean closer to you. I have that big vision to share the power of the ocean, the beauty, the strength, the freedom you can feel in the ocean closer to you and into your life, to help you to explore yourself even more, to reflect you and your life in the ocean, and finding as well the courage and the motivation and all the love to really create the life you really want. And today in the interview, I really have a power woman and a passionate ocean lover as well. It's Cristina Zenato. She lives on the beautiful island of Bahamas. She is ocean and cave explorer. She is shark behaviorist. She is photographer, writer, and speaker. And she shares today with us here her love to the ocean, her passion about cave diving, being underwater, feeling at home in the water, her passion about diving with sharks and what she learns with sharks being together, her passion about sharing all the knowledge and experience with other clients and students, and some private aspects of her life living close to the water and in the water as well, and how the water helped herself to get to know herself better. So enjoy listening to that wonderful lady today and dive with us into the energy of the ocean, the atmosphere, the power, the freedom, and enjoy listening to the interview about the water, a place of discovery, healing, and being your true self. Feel free to share your thoughts, feedbacks, feelings with us here on our YouTube channel. And I'm hoping to really bring the ocean already a piece closer to you with this wonderful time with Cristina Zenato. So enjoy listening and I'm happy to hear from you. Cristina, welcome.
Thank you.
From one ocean to the other. I'm so happy that you take the time for yourself, and thanks a lot because I know how busy you are. It's great to have you here, and thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing now the next hour, your life, your passion, your inspiration, your learning, your challenges, your energy, everything.
Or lack of.
Maybe at least a bit of it. Before we get really into my questions I have to you, just share with me and share with us, where are you, who you are, what you do every day.
Well, my name is Cristina Zenato. I'm originally from Italy, but I've been living for the last 28 years in the Bahamas, specifically Grand Bahama Island, where I started as a diving instructor, and I continue an underwater life at a different level. I'm a shark behaviorist, I'm a course director, I'm a cave instructor and explorer, and specialize in shark and cave and technical diving.
Incredible. Incredible. All your passion around water.
All of it, yes.
When did you start?
My mom says I started when I was an infant. So you could say I started in my mom's womb. When I was born and I was fussy, my mom will draw a warm bath. And opposite of all the kids that usually cry when you give them a bath, I would actually relax and stop crying. And then I started with my parents and my family. Luckily, they come from the ocean and they brought me to the ocean. 3, I was already a swimmer. And my dad was an ex-military diver from Italy. I had these beautiful images. He was what we call ardito incursore. So I had these images of him swimming with his ara rebreather, and I wanted to be like him. So I always been a water baby, if that's what you're asking. When I started as a diving professional, I had to wait a little. I was 22 years old, and I had to wait because as much as my family brought me to the ocean, as much as my dad brought me to the water, and I always had my fins and my mask and my snorkel and went freediving, there was this perception that scuba diving was not for women. It was too dangerous. It was too complicated. And so I had to wait till I was financially independent and time independent and combine the two. And I ended up traveling here to the Bahamas, where I ended up staying to do my first open water course.
So since then, you live already on the Bahamas?
Yes.
Incredible. That's really a long time.
I came here on vacation. I speak 5 languages, and I was here on vacation, and I fell immediately in love with the ocean, with the visibility, with the warm water, with the fact that it had sharks everywhere. And I was like, oh, how can I stay? The place where I was residing, they said, well, we're looking for someone who speaks languages to work at the hotel front desk, which was my background. I studied hotel management, languages, tourism management. And in a week time, I basically flipped my life over. I was like, okay, sure. I just need a little bit of time to go home. I have to quit my job, tell my boyfriend I'm not coming back, pack a couple of bags. And literally 12 days later, I was here in the Bahamas to start a new life with the intention of doing it for 1 or 2 years and, get diving out of my system in a way. Mm-hmm. And I thought eventually I will go back and continue my job in the hotel industry. Then I actually thought, well, no, I'll continue my job in the hotel industry, traveling around the world and finding all these hotels in the world that are close to the ocean, Maldives, Seychelles. And then I moved into the diving, and here we have both sharks and caves, and I had a passion for both. And one thing led to another, and I never moved.
Well, it's incredible. I mean, a lot of people are afraid of sharks. Yeah. People are even afraid of doing such a big step, just saying, okay, I move now everything in a just short period of time. Have you not been afraid?
I was 22. Moving was not the hard part. At 22, you're supposed to launch and jump and try, and you're also supposed to say not for me. I think the hardest part, and is the part that it about took 30 years to revert back, was a stain. A lot of people do what I do at a young age. The perception is that it's a happy-go-lucky job, is extremely low paid, is very hard on the body, is very hard on the mind, and yet it still perceives like, oh, well, you get paid to be on vacation. And so after a few years, I noticed people come and go, and a lot of them drop off. And so for me, the hardest part was not starting at 22, trying it out, given a couple of years of adventure, but it was a stain. And then it was staying through the societal pressures. When are you going to settle down? Why are you throwing away your education? When are you going to have kids? When are you going to stop playing with sharks? This job is a physical and it has no consequences. And I think I heard different versions of it for 30 years. I just did a post the other day, 2 days ago, about this. And now 50 people turn around and going, oh, magnificent. Oh, I wish I had your life. You are so lucky.
Yeah.
And it's like, 30 years of luck that I worked for and pushed through. So the hardest part is not jumping and trying. The hardest part for me is staying. And I can say this because I've seen hundreds of people coming and going, yes, this is a dream life. And then going, wow, this dream life costs a lot.
Yeah.
Not financially, but everything else, mentally, physically, and financially. And then it caused a lot on societal pressures and people's attitude.
Yeah. And I think that makes really the difference. The one is saying, okay, I go into an adventure, but then keeping it and really staying and going through because your passion is there. I mean, when I see what you write, what you show, how your daily life is when you are in the water with the sharks, with the people, it's just coming from your heart. I mean, that's so the feelings and the emotions you transport with that, it's just incredible. And clearly there's a daily life behind. Yeah.
It's there. I mean, and that's the reason why I have very blurred boundaries between what is, like people are like, oh, how is your day like? And you just ask me, how do I manage my energies? The thing is, my work is my passion. My passion is my work. And I kind of like blend it together. And it's very hard to define that. But if I may, give someone says, how do you do this? Is I think if you think you love diving or to do this at the intensity and the way I do it, you have to absolutely be passionate about it 10 times, 100 times more than when you think, oh, I really love diving. It has to have 100 more of that energy from which you pull through. But I think the trick is to keep yourself interested, keep yourself challenged, and never forget to keep yourself a niche that is yours. And say, yes, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and this is work and this is work. But it's like, what is the thing that really gets me excited? And so is accepting, for example, I accept expeditions or quote unquote jobs that maybe are not paid, but they're just expenses paid, but they actually take me to unique environments or give me great opportunities. I keep myself excited by having personal projects on the island that are outside of the boundaries of taking care of people that are extremely enriching. They keep my curiosity going. And so I blend this having to do certain things by fueling it with this, well, what is behind these certain things and how do I keep myself interested?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you had curious.
Yes. And I just want to ask you, have you had ever moments where you said, I quit. I don't want to do that anymore?
I had, when I've at a certain point, I had kind of like cornered myself into a job that had kind of like almost deleted what was my passion. And I explained for a while, for a long time, I was a diver. I was a passionate diver. I was building my career. I was interested in sharks and caves and technique. I was going and taking all these courses. But at the same time, I was working for an operation. And in that operation, I also grew. I grew from diving supervisor to operations manager to director of training. But the management part became so overwhelming that I realized it was killing my in-water personal passion teaching part. And so I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to quit. I have to say, COVID was like the most beautiful blessing that I could receive. Because with COVID, everything shut down and I reverted back to just my passion. Yeah. And I realized that my 3 words are exploration, education, conservation.
Yeah. Yeah, I love these words.
We need to explore. We explore as our heart, and we need to explore the known, not just the unknown. So we know something. Well, let's explore it more. Is it really what is it is about? We need to educate ourselves so we can educate others. Yeah. And only when we explore and educate ourselves, we can protect, we can conserve. And I used to joke and I say, listen, I am exploration, education, conservation. I said, I don't see management in there. And so the moment I quit management, the passion came back. So yes, there was a moment in which I said, I can't do this anymore, but it was not this. The only part I could not do anymore was sacrificing my exploration, education, and conservation for that management part. In a certain way, a little bit, I had responded to the societal pressure of the steady job, the maybe more, let's say, prestigious job, which was still with diving, which still had a fueling part. But the energy spent into that management part, into that problem solving, into having to deal with everyone else's issues and forego the day of teaching a cave class had brought me to the point, it's like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But the moment I eliminated management, my passion was just like, no, it's still there. It's actually 10 times more refueled. So it's just a matter of redirecting a little bit.
Yeah, it's great, the reflection you have and how you adapt your life and adjust your life just where your energy is and where you would like to have it, just feeling yourself back again.
Yes, and I think we need to do that. And we evolve, right? But I'm no longer 22, I'm 50. I have sometimes people, and this is people's perception, it's not their fault, but they will email me or they'll ask me, oh, are you still doing this? And it's like, no, I'm no longer 22. It's been there, done that, but not because it's beneath me. It's just because I have gone over it. My passion, my interest has evolved. And so I have adapted and evolved with it. Yeah, I occasionally maybe do something of what I used to do at 22, but I have changed and we're supposed to change. And we're supposed to some days sit there and reflect and say, wait a minute, there's that part that is missing.
Yes.
And luckily, I was able to do that. I've been in a thinking process of that for a while. I was trying to move away from it. And finally, I was able to completely detach. And it's been like an absolute rebirth.
So when you're in the water, how do you feel?
I am at home.
I love it.
Water
Absolutely, I feel it.
Water is a place that taught me many things. It taught me the power of now. When you're in the water, when you're working on a cave dive, when you're technically diving, when you're working with sharks, you have to be there. You cannot be thinking, oh, I need to go to the bank and I need to do this, which is sometimes what you do if you're on the computer, right? You're on the computer and you're like, oh, wait, message on the phone. And it's like, no, in the water, you're in the water. So it's a beautiful teacher of the power of now. That is one. The other things the water taught me, and especially the animals, for me is a healing place. I've been speaking about it, haven't been completely open, but I've had eating behavioral problems that developed when I moved from Africa to Italy before moving from Italy to the Bahamas. There were problems of self-awareness. There were problems of self-realizations that manifested in eating behavioral problems. And when I went diving, I realized that animals did not care. I was like, wait, they don't care if I have 2 pounds more, 3 pounds more, 10 kilos more. And actually, wait a minute, I don't feel it. My worth on the water was not based on my features, on my size, on the size of the wetsuit I was wearing. And that reflection allowed me to say, well, if it doesn't matter underwater, it does not matter on land. And so I actually self-healed from eating behavioral problems. There was no support here. Water is a place of discovery, a place of wonder. And at the end of the day, water is a place of life. We live thanks to the oceans on this planet. So yeah, water is home and is peaceful, healing, comfortable place for me. I've never been scared.
I just listen to your words. It's exactly that what I teach and give my clients and students, and hearing that from another ocean lover, it's just fills my heart, because that's the water. Yeah. Feeling yourself, getting back to yourself. Yeah. Outside of our normal world, just being you. And it's just when you just described it, how you felt when you went into the water, that the water doesn't take care of weight, any dimensions. It's just being you.
Yes. And it
And
doesn't
it's
matter.
so important.
It doesn't matter how you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you are related to society. What society wants you to be or wants you to do or wants you to achieve doesn't matter anymore. In the water, you can be your true self. And if you find that, you can actually bring it up to the surface. One of the things I joke about with me teaching the shark courses, and when I take down my clients, I tell them I am an underwater psychologist. I cannot read people's completely on the surface. On the surface, they're capable of creating shields and movements, but underwater, without the spoken word, and watching them interacting with the sharks, because the sharks bring them down to their raw level. I can see where their blocks are. I can see where their insecurities are. I can actually detect their strength. And one of the things I do is not just about doing the course with the sharks about the sharks, but a lot of people told me that being in the water with me and taking a shark course at that level has changed their lives. There are people that made extreme decisions after taking the course because how we analyzed and discussed, oh, you have this perception, or you have this block, or you have this strength, and they surface. And after 2-3 days of spending the water with me and the sharks, they go, you know what? I'm going to go for this. I'm going to do this now. And they have a brand new perceptions of themselves, because you can now fake it.
Yeah. Yeah. The power which they open once they are in the water and they have a person aside who really helps them to see it and to bring it to the surface. It's such a gift. Yeah.
And I love it. I absolutely love it. Watching the transformation of each, because I do one-on-one. It's only one-on-one that I do. Watching the transformation of the person, it's the most rewarding part. I'm like cheer and hug them, and so exciting. And for them to vocalize it and say, oh yeah, I thought I was, for example, I had someone said, I thought I was a very self-standing, assured person, confident person. And being with the sharks made me realize, sometimes how my body language and reactions are. And their confidence level grew even more, but not just underwater. It grew more out of the water.
So was it your intention when you started shark diving and cave diving really to help people to explore themselves? Or was it just growing out of your passion and it found the way through?
In all honesty, when I started, it was all selfish. It was all about me and my experience and my moments, which I think it's normal. I was 22 and I engulfed myself into these two worlds, and it was about all that I could feel, perceive, and experience. And only when at a certain point you verify yourself and you find yourself, then it's easier to push it outwards. But you can't push it outwards till you kind of like verify your inwards. So now it was a process. It was a selfish at first. It was about me, my experience, my time, my learning, very much my precious. And then once I was in myself, I was within myself, I was like, okay, now I can expand it outward. And even that evolved. When I was younger, I remember older people saying, oh, I wish I was 22 with the wisdom of 60 or 70. I'm only 50. And I'm thinking, I wish I could feel as I feel now when I was 22. But you can't. It's a process, and you have to go through the process. And I think it's okay to evolve. You can impart on people how you are and how you feel with 30 years experience when you don't have those 30 years experience. You just have to put them in. So in a certain way, also being there has taught patience, passion, dedication, a repetition. One of the things I try to teach the younger people is when you show up, congratulations for showing up. That's the first step of 1,000. You know, the reward comes from the continuously showing up, from the repeated passion, for the fidelity into what is, that is a fueling from within. And so you just can't, I don't think you can change it. You know, you sit there, it's like, I wish really at 30, I was not like that. But it's like, well, no, you have to be like that to then evolve into who you are now. And it's beautiful. I'm expecting to change even more in the next 20 years, to evolve more.
Yeah. The journey you are going, you take the people with.
Correct. And the people go on their own journey and they take you with. So the people that you're exposed to have their own journey. So it's like, I'm coming in from this road and there's this road navigating, and there's this person coming from this road and they're walking here, but maybe I walk a little bit faster, and then all of a sudden I reach up with them, and then we'll walk together for a little bit, and then I go, oh, wow, that's my road. And the other person goes the other way, but somebody else comes back into the tributary that you're in. So it is your journey, and then you share other people's journey. And as you do that, then it becomes that community, that different movement, that different growth. They say, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, but it definitely takes a community to raise a diver. Sometimes I sit here and I think, you know, like the people that have influenced me in a positive way, sometimes even the bad experiences. What has this bad experience taught me? What has this negative attitude from someone showed me? What has this refusal, this failure, this absolutely being ignored, for example, has made me resolve? So it's not just about the positive encounters. It's sometimes we have negative encounters, but what have they forged? What strength have they given me? What have they shown me that actually is? And sometimes you sit there and you're like, wow, I'm really glad I failed that. Because you really show me that that was not my road. And actually,
have you had ever that level of reflection? Or was it something what you have learned for you in the water? Some people never reflect in that detail. Some do. Where did you take it from?
From, I think, everything, from the water itself. From inside is 2020. My goodness, inside is 2020. So it's by literally failing, sitting there, feeling sorry for myself for a little bit, giving my little sorry self a little bit of hot tea and a hot soup and a little pat on the back. and then basically realizing that sitting there feeling sorry for myself was not the solution. It's okay to feel it. And then it was like, okay, and now what? And so review it again in reaching out to people and talking to people. One of the things that I think age has taught me that is really, really good. It's okay to reach out to people and say, I need help. And it doesn't have to be physical or financial help. It could just be, hey, can I pick your brain? Or can I share this with you? And sometimes when you share something, when you share a doubt, a fear, a weakness, it's incredible how many people go, oh, I have the same feelings. And the two of them sit there and you discuss and say, well, what do you do about it? And what do you do about it? Sometimes you need the cheer person that stands on the side of the road and goes, go, 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 Cristina, go. And so reaching out and expressing failure and weakness actually strengthens and empowers you, and strengthens and empowers the person that you reach out to.
Yeah.
So it's been a mix. It's been a mix of self-discovery, and it's been a mix of saying, hey, hi, want to connect?
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Lovely. Yes, that's it.
sometimes it's a matter of also, sometimes you don't see the big picture. So one of the things, and that's the reason why I do a lot of mentorships.
Quite often.
I've had mentors who are not mentors, they're just friends. And I will reach out to them and going, I want to do this. And this is what I see, negative, 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 obstacle, 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 obstacle. And I will have these friends, and most of them women, go, that is not an obstacle. Here, maybe you can do it this way. It's like, okay, so I'll try to do it that way. And all of a sudden, it's not the 100% best solution, but it works. And it's like, no. And then somebody else says, that is not an obstacle. Here, why don't you try this? And you try it. And again, it's not the best of the best of solutions, but it works. And so what I've started doing is the same thing. I do mentorship. I have primarily young women, and I'm saying young, 19, 20, 16, 18, going, I don't know where to go with my life. And so we get on a Zoom call like I'm doing with you. And I ask them, and then I tell them, and then I share my experience. Then I tell them, you know what? Right. That is not an obstacle. Yeah. I've learned that actually it's something you can try. And so it becomes this fueling from others, that then you fuel to others, that then reflects back to you. And is really this sharing that I think builds into like expanding the capability of growing. It literally takes a village. It takes a community.
Yes, and we are all on the same planet. So sharing and really exchanging our experiences, the learnings, the feelings. We are all human, so we are all kind of the same. We are all going to similar phases. So for me, it's such as well an energy which we give and which we create when we share. In the feeling that we are not alone. We are all, and we can share. We're all connected in a way.
Yes, and sharing doesn't deplete you. Sharing enriches you.
Yeah.
In a certain way, it's the same as sometimes in order to fill your basket, you have to empty it. If your basket is full, you can't fill it anymore. So that sharing, that giving out, is somewhat emptying part of your basket, and then it leaves room for something else to come in and enrich you.
Yeah.
Sharing doesn't deplete you. Sharing enriches you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh. I just want to, I have so many questions I would like to ask you. So for me, which I really like to know more about it, is cave diving and shark diving. Yeah, even for me as a free diver, there are still some areas in the water where I say, wow, I have a lot of respect on that. And it's something where I grow into it as well. And cave diving and shark diving is nothing what you just do once and you do it immediately. So it's, as you said, that's something where you as well kind of, I would say, grow into it.
Correct.
So people coming to you doing cave diving and shark diving, what kind of people are that? And what do they take at the end out of that? Apart from that, what you already mentioned, because getting into contact with such animals, what does it? Can you describe such a situation?
Yeah, I think we need to split it. The people that come to cave diving primarily have somewhat already an interest. I've had few people that took like the cavern tour. So cavern and cave is different. Cavern is the first room. Cave is beyond the light and is the technical world. So by the time they come to do the cave, they may be already done a cavern tour in Mexico or a cavern tour with me, and they have an interest in a technical diving. So they're people, primarily they're very analytical people, very precise people. It's very interesting. Everybody thinks cave diving is for daredevils. It's like, it's not. Most of my clientele is of the kind of engineers, mathematicians, doctors, people that plan and review and prepare, because that's what cave diving is. But their interest is already somewhat peaked. And so they come kind of prepared. The shark diving population is is far in between. They're obviously attracted to sharks. They're obviously fascinated by sharks, but it goes from absolute confidence and just, oh, I want to improve my experience with sharks because I've already been diving shark. And this is the next step where the sharks are coming towards me, to the, I really kind of love this idea of sharks, but absolutely, totally frightened by them. And I'm doing this experience of full immersions, what we would say cold turkey, to see if I can overcome my fear. So my clientele for sharks is a wider range. It's like opening a little, like fan. It just goes from this end to this end. Where the cave diving range, I would say, is maybe more like this range, right? They already have somewhat an idea. They already done some research. They already kind of know where this is taking them and where is this conducting them. The most evolutionary work is during the shark courses. Now in cave diving, I teach 3 things. I usually tell, my students, and I teach that also at the professional level. I say success is a mathematical formula, somewhat. Is a skill plus knowledge times attitude or mindset. I can teach you skills. I can teach you knowledge. I can try to inspire you on the attitude and mindset, but I cannot really teach you that. I can only show you that, and then it's up to you to change this. And so with cave diving, there's a lot of focusing on skills and knowledge, and then incorporated with the correct mindset. With sharks is a lot of knowledge. At the end of the day, not much of skills, because it's a very easy dive. It's 15 meters, 45 feet, standing on the ocean floor. But I would say it's 99% mindset. Dropping the barriers. Even people that love sharks, having a shiver of 20 sharks swimming towards them can be uncomfortable. But not because the sharks are threatening, because of what they have as an idea about sharks. So my work is actually chiseling away, chiseling away all these preconceived notions, all these myths, all these little unfounded fears that society has built into us from birth. The last 2 weeks, as I was teaching cave diving, I would meet people at the cave entrance, and there would be fathers with daughters, people with young people, and they would be like, oh yes, cave diving, that is amazing. And they were like, oh, this is a shark lady. And these children who were not even diving age will go, oh, ew, sharks, sharks. And I'll be like, have you seen sharks yet? No, I don't like sharks. It's like, but why don't you like sharks? You haven't seen them. You're not even a diver. You haven't been maybe playing in the pool with your friends. And yet the fear factor is so high. We already basically soaked these young people into the myths, into the unfounded knowledge of these very misunderstood animals. So then, 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, goes, I'm coming on your shark course with this 20 years of somewhat what I heard about sharks. And I'm like a little bit like Michelangelo, I have the scalpel and the hammer, and goes like chip, 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 chip away. And we start basically going, okay, we're working with one species of sharks, not all species. And we start with one size does not fit all. There's over 520 species of sharks. The smallest sharks in the world is the size of a pen. Anything, when you say sharks do this, and I look at the pen, I'm thinking, no, that's incorrect. The pen doesn't do it. The biggest shark in the world is a whale shark. It's It's the biggest
It's
fish in the world, and
beautiful.
takes the name from the whale shark because it's a filter feeder. So when you say, oh, to avoid something that sharks do, you need to do this. And I'm like, no, here's the whale shark. And what you're saying only applies to 2 or 3 species of sharks.
Yeah.
Chip, 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 chip. Oh, what should I do if I see a shark in the water? I'm like, I don't know, take a picture. And it's like, we go back to, where are you? What are you doing? Which kind of shark? Can you see the shark? It's like, instead of saying this is the one answer to your one question, is actually, here are the 15 questions to your one question. So then you need to make up a decision, an informed decision. Instead of the going immediately, oh, get out of the water. And it's like, one answer is like, no, chip, 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 chip. Here is the few and far between times, the rare occasions in which you should say, not today, not in this water. And in fear is okay. We should be afraid of certain things. We should be afraid of the hot stove, not to touch it with the bare hand, it burns. But we should not be afraid of doing certain things because of fear of what we perceive as a danger.
Yeah.
Right. So we shouldn't be afraid of going in the water because we're fearful of something that is actually a myth, a very wrong perception. Right. So am I fearful because it's dangerous, or is this dangerous because I'm fearful?
So how was your first moment when you met a shark underwater? Do you remember?
It was my first dive. I came here to learn how to get certified. And when I did my first open water dive, I was in the same dive site where I'm working now.
How was your reaction? How did you feel when you got the first time in contact with? Was it like,
I came out?
Wow.
I came out and I said, you have sharks? And they're like, they looked at me kind of like, of course we have sharks. What a question. And the reason why is, luckily, I came from a family that told me that sharks were very rare to be observed in the water. In the Mediterranean, it's almost impossible to see sharks. But even on the coast of Africa, where I was, and I would ask my dad, it's like, hey, are we going to see sharks? They'll be like, no, it's just they're very, very skittish. They're very, very shy. Sharks do not approach humans. It's very hard to see them. So then I jump in the water on my first open water dive. And 15 meters of water. Back then, the first dives were in 18, just to clarify with the public, because nowadays the first 2 dives are 12. But when I became certified, the first dives could be done up to 18 meters of depth. And we're in 50 meters of water, and there's like a dozen sharks. And I surfaced, and I'm like, oh, but they're sharks. It's amazing. And the dive masters who lived here and worked here, they're so like, of course we have sharks, just like so obvious. But for me, it was exciting. For me, it was the deal maker of saying, I want to come back here and dive for a while and stay here for a year. That was the deal maker. It was like being in the water and having sharks and saying, you know what, I'll come back here and dive with them and get diving out of my system and then go back home and have a real job.
How would you describe today your relationship to sharks? What kind of connection do you have to them, to that type of animal?
It's a relationship. You just said the word. So a relationship is not built on speed dating. That is what I try to explain to people. If I go on a speed date, and I sit at the table across someone, and they give us, I don't know, I've never done one, but like 1 minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes to talk to someone. But if you go for dinner with someone on your first date, you're not in a relationship. You just started to know each other. So my relationship with sharks is a repeated time spent together. It's one of respect, is one of knowledge, is one as acceptance, and is one of, in a certain way, compromise. I don't expect the sharks to always behave like I want them to. I watch how the sharks are that day and adapt my behavior to them. It's a relationship based on time. on dive site fidelity, not just helicoptering in 2 weeks out of the year and says, oh, here I am visiting my babies. It's like, I'm here day in, day out. Yes, I may take breaks. I may be gone for 5, 6 weeks. I may be doing other things, but I'm checking in on a regular basis. And I think that's what it is. It's of a mutual acceptance. I can't say that is reciprocal love because I can't give sharks feelings, but I love sharks. And their reaction to me is acceptance, trust, and in a certain way, their comfort level. You know, that shark that allows me, not all my sharks like to lay in my lap, but the one that comes in and says, yeah, I'll lay in your lap for a little bit, you weird, bubbling, noisy making, somewhat strange creatures that I've seen for the last 10 years. It's like, yeah, I know, you every once in a while you come down here and then you disappear, but I know you're harmless. You prove to me you're harmless. So here I am, I'm sitting in your lap. So I think that's what the relationship is. To them, I'm still like this bizarre thing, but is a bizarre repeated thing, right? And has not posed any threat, and maybe has some good feelings about it. The chainmail is very soft, so maybe they like it on their skin. When they have a hook and I remove it, they feel better. So I know when they have hooks, they come in and allow me to remove them. And they're kind of like, yeah, it's fine. I'm okay with you.
Do you think they transport a certain message? Do they want to teach us as animals something? Show us as humans something?
Honestly, no. I don't think sharks or animals in general have that cognitive capability of saying, well, this is my mission in life or my message. However, I do believe as humans, we can learn a lot from them. I actually have a presentation called Shark Wisdom, and it's lesson learned from being with sharks. So it's not about them wanting to teach us, it's us watching nature, immersing ourselves in nature, in a certain way going back to some of our ancestral kind of living without modifying, and I modify a lot because I'm on scuba diving, and then watching that and says, what can I extrapolate from this world? For example, like I said, body image. It's not that the shark said, oh, Cristina has eating behavioral problem. By showing her that we don't care about her body, she's going to learn this. But me as a conscious creature, because in a certain way, we do have a consciousness that is heightened, and we should take advantage of it. Not by saying the other animals are below us. They're just at a different level of consciousness. And what can I extrapolate from their different level of consciousness through my self-experience? And so then you watch the sharks, and there's the big shark, and the shark with the bent fin, and the shark with the blind eye. And the other sharks are not somewhat moved by it. There's no differences in the hierarchy on how they move. And so that teaches me, it's like, well, image does not matter. The things that we put weight on as humans are not the ones that actually count for life, for a meaningful life. So I don't think they have a direct conscience of saying, no, I'm going to teach this to Cristina, but we can actually watch them and extrapolate them. It's very simple. Don't judge the book by the cover. When I say the word shark, people are like, reaction closed, right? We can say that with bats, snakes, spiders, bees, wonderful bees, so adorable. Hyenas, there's some animals that all of a sudden people go, ooh, ew, ah. And it's like, no, don't judge the book by the cover. First lesson. Don't worry about the image, worry about the content, right? Do not stereotype. Sharks are like birds. If I said all birds are black, fly, and sing beautifully, you'd be like, no, that's incorrect. They're birds that don't fly. They're birds that actually don't sing beautifully. They actually should not sing. And there's definitely a lot of colorful birds. and few and far between. So sharks are the same. Let's now stereotype into sharks do this, sharks do that. And then we bring that back to the surface. So let's not just say, oh, these people of this nation do this. Yeah. Those people of this religion do that. Yeah. These people of this skin color are like this. It's like, do not stereotype.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of lessons that we can take from them. They teach other lessons. They teach that sometimes it's going to hurt. Right? If you get accidentally bitten by a shark, it might hurt. And in life, things might hurt. So what do is we try to prepare. We try to mitigate the risk. It doesn't mean don't do it. It basically means do it by trying to mitigate the risk, which is also what we do in cave diving. Saying, I'm not going cave diving because cave diving is dangerous. It's like, well, you preclude yourself from actually seeing something absolutely immensely beautiful. I'm not going in the water because there are sharks. You prevent yourself from seeing one of the most beautiful parts of our planet. Indeed, deserts, mountains, forests are gorgeous as well. But 71% of our planet is water. And by saying, I'm not going to water because I'm afraid of sharks, you preclude yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So what you do is you mitigate the risk through knowledge and understanding. So sharks are teaching us that. Can you go in the water with sharks? Yes. We're out there every day diving with tigers and bulls and great whites and hammerheads and Caribbean reef sharks and oceanic whitetips. The species that are considered the most dangerous, we're in the water with them every day. So those are the lessons we extrapolate from being shark divers, from being cave divers, is you need to go and do these things. And I'm not saying just these diving things, the things that scare you in life. Try the new job. Try the new career, try the new venture. Is it scary? Yes. Can you try to mitigate? Of course, don't just jump completely into the void. But should you have everything 100% lined up and perfect and say there's zero risk before I take a jump? No, no. Just go for it. And seriously, and I experienced this 2 or 3 times now in my life. I jumped. And as you jump, you kind of like pull the parachute and somewhat works. And then you learn how to pull the strings. And sometimes you learn how to fly.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And in the moment when you go over this fear, something opens and you see, wow, that's a new life which is expecting me.
Correct. Yeah. And it's basically imagine you're falling off this cliff and you're trying to pull the parachutes and it doesn't work. And then something opens and you say, you know what, I'm going to just try to stretch my arms. And as you're falling, instead of falling, you're kind of like cushions. And then you start soaring instead of falling. Right. And that is what I want people to feel. Is just like do not do something because of fear. Fear is there to teach you how to mitigate the risk, but don't wait for 100% being gone. It's just go for it, because it is the lesson that will allow you to then really expand your views and horizon and realize how much potential you had that was blocked by this
absolutely
by this fear.
Yeah. And this is a feeling what I really like to teach my clients as well. The moment in freediving where they feel they are connected to water, they are carried by the water. They just are there. They don't need to do anything, nothing to control. And when they feel the moment where the water is carrying them and feeling this calmness and this light moment, not stopping, but that you can just put your wings out and this feeling of flying.
Correct.
Lovely. Oh, I just see the time running, and I could continue with you. I don't know how many hours. 2 questions I still have to you.
Okay.
For me, the the time in the water, I learned so much that it's not just about mind, that it's about all of us. So already what we talked about, this, it's taking us on a journey, mind and body. What did you learn for yourself apart from that? What you shared already with us, what you learned for your body and your weight. What did you learn for your physical body, your energy in the water?
I find that water, I kind of like, it's like the cooling of my Italian fire. So going in the water is like a moment of recharging.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's tiring, or maybe I become cold or anything like that, after having spent time in the water, is the cooling effect of what could be the pressures of life, and then is a recharging to come back to the surface where I'm in a certain way burdened by my gravity and weight. So for me, water is the washing off and recharging.
Mm-hmm. Do you have moments? Can you say that after a couple of days, how many days not spending time in the water, you feel these, I need to go back into the water?
It depends how I prepare myself from a mindset point of view. Some of it is controlled. But I would say if I am here, like on the island, is just a few days, 2 to 3 to 4 days, and then I'll start being a little bit uncomfortable. If I'm traveling, last year I took like 5 weeks off to go and finally visit my mom and my family and my husband's family in Europe. I ended up convincing him to jump in the Baltic Sea in the middle of January. So even then I was just like, I need some water. And it was kind of funny. I ended up doing some of these cold baths in the Baltic Sea, and they were like so energizing. So I can now go too long without water. I actually haven't been very much in my last 30 years without water for long periods of time. Incredible. I think the longest period was when, before moving here, I was working in the hotel, in a hotel in Verona, in Italy, and I was building up to my hotel director career. And those 2 years it was the longest time that I had not been able to spend like in the water, swimming. At the time, I was not a scuba diver, but I was still like a free diver, swimmer, a kayaker. And because of the demands of the hotel, I wasn't out there. And that definitely affected me tremendously, to the point that I was able to leave that career to actually come here and say, no, I'm going to stay here because there is water. So I cannot go long periods of time without water. It doesn't necessarily have to be scuba diving. Like I said, we were in Europe and we were in Denmark in the middle of the winter, and I was just kind of like, we were running. We went running.
Just the feeling of water.
And the salt and opening the eyes. And it was like 4 degrees water, but it was just so beautiful to be in it.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. I grew up at the Baltic Sea, and for me, this feeling of having the ocean around me every day affected my life as well. So just being some days without water, I just need to have it in a different, to see how to make it possible, just to feel and to see and to smell the water. Last question to you. Any words, any sentences, any phrases you want to give people with at the end of this interview, in terms of water, in terms of themselves, getting back to themselves, feeling them, exploring? What would you like to tell them? What would you like to give them, Brice?
It's a very good question. In a certain way, I think maybe it's a little bit cliche, but is something that we really need to start thinking and focusing on, we are each on our journey. And some people can join us during that journey. Some people can show us some path of the journey. But at the end of the day, it's our job to walk that road. It's our job to, nobody can do those steps for us. They can show us the way. They can hold our hand for a little bit. So is definitely realize that is your journey and embrace your journey, however you want to make it, not however other people are making it, nor how other people wish you would make it. It's for you to be walked on your own terms.
Yeah. And feeling empowered that they just go and explore what you say. This exploring in the water. I love your 3 words because that reflects so much on our personal lives, on our human life.
Explore and don't be afraid to fail. And if you fail, just recharge, redirect, review, and try again.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for these. Lots of gifts, plenty of gifts. Thanks for all these words, sharing your stories, sharing your personal life. I just felt in the between all these feelings on my skin. Just it touched me a lot. You are such a strong woman and such a power woman, and to see how you support people, young people as well, and to share your experiences with them to get into their way of life, into their personal journey. Just lovely. Thanks a lot for sharing. And thanks for sharing your ocean love. Yeah, this deepness, so really this depth which is there.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Connie.
Thanks for your time. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.